Hey, Foot Clan, today's show is brought to you by FantasyChamps.com. Jason, you're a champ.
Whee! Yes, I am. Back-to-back Listener League champion, and I'm going to FantasyChamps.com to get myself a championship ring.
Yeah, they got trophies.
Championship belt.
Customizable.
A trophy.
It's going to be great.
A jersey. I'm going to deck it out.
They have only metal engraved placards, so none of that cheap stuff. You get a trophy for your league. You get to put all of the past champions.
Blang, blang.
You can get a ring.
You can get a loser trophy.
So
Yeah.
Use our code BALLERS, though, when you go. FantasyChamps.com.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast, coming to you from the Playdraft Studios with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Welcome in, one and all.
Merry Christmas.
To a wonderful Tuesday episode of the Fantasy Footballers. It is December 26th. We hope you had a wonderful holiday with the family. I know I did. And I'm excited. This show is jam-packed today. We're going to probably bounce it around a little bit, muse on all the things that have happened. We'll have studs and duds. We'll have rising stars. We'll have some Week 17 waiver talk and QB streamers. And I'm going to start, though, with that hashtag FootclanTitle discussion.
Tweet it out.
There are many of us that, or many of you out there that, you want to know a lay of the land, what happened in our various leagues. Mike. Mike and I took each other on in the Dynasty League championship match.
Yes, we did, and my team did not show up between, let's see, I got to do some quick math calculations here. Des Bryant, Evan Engram, and Michael Crabtree combined gave me 5.6 points.
Which would be, what, like 1/8 of what Todd Gurley put up?
Yeah, it was. I mean, I had some excellent performances. I went with the heart of stone. I played Mike Gillisley successfully.
Over Carlos Hyde.
Yeah, Carlos Hyde ended up being better because apparently
unsuccessfully.
Well, but double-digit points.
Sure.
That's what you want from a flex.
I played Gilly,
and but those three guys, they absolutely buried me, and I am a loser.
Todd Gurley,
and the Tennessee Titans. I don't know what the crap was going on with that defense, but they forgot that Todd Gurley can catch a football.
Todd Gurley, I think you said it this morning. He put up, I think, the all-time highest points in fantasy championship weeks fantasy playoff weeks. It is a wonderful feeling. I've seen a lot of people on Twitter that won on the back of Gurley. Obviously, I feel great because I backed Gurley throughout the year, and I even put my money where my mouth was, traded everything to get him in the Dynasty League. And I have seen a lot of people reach out, Mike, and give you a hard time a little bit. And there is something you forgot about from earlier in the year.
What did I forget about?
So I just want to remind you that you owe the people something, and I'm going to take us back in time for just a minute.
Oh.
But my concern with Todd Gurley is, everyone is super pumped now. And next week, he gets Dallas.
That's a good
It's
matchup.
another good matchup. But after that,
Seattle, Arizona.
It goes Seahawks, Jaguars, Cardinals, Giants, Texans, Vikings. It's six.
That is
six
vomit
of
worthy.
the top 10 defenses right in a row.
So while I've been on board for Todd Gurley in these matchups, but here that's the big stamp.
The rub?
Yeah, where the rubber meets the road. I was trying to avoid a cliche, but when he starts playing those defenses and everyone's like, yeah, you should have apologized for Gurley. If he crushes in those games, that's when I would issue the apology.
Oh!
Hit the music then. Let's get it over with. Todd Gurley, my friend, my new friend, yet my old friend. I loved you coming out of college very much. I backed. There was the big Todd Gurley, Melvin Gordon debate, and I was ferociously on the side of Todd Gurley. Jeff Fisher ruined everything everything. He ruined my reputation. He ruined my sentiments of you, Todd Gurley, because last year it looked really bad. And this year, I believe you should be the MVP of the NFL because you have carried the Los Angeles Rams into the playoffs. No one else has affected a team so much as Todd Gurley, and you are the fantasy MVP.
Oh, so beautiful.
I am truly sorry, Todd Gurley.
I appreciate that. It feels like, that puts a bow on the season. I give you credit this morning. I mean, you heard it there in the clip. That was an early clip this year. And the beginning part of the clip that I didn't play was where you actually had Gurley that week ranked one spot higher than I did and than Jason did. So you were never stubborn about Todd Gurley's success. You just simply questioned the ability for that offense, the offensive line, the new head coach, to do what they've done this year, where Gurley now has, 18 touchdowns on the year.
Also,
I think he should be the MVP. I think Brady will probably win it. But I think it should be Gurley.
I think it would be a travesty if Tom Brady won the MVP this year. But on top of that, another point when we talk about don't overemphasize the fantasy playoffs,
the schedule.
I mean, I fell victim to it as well because Philly and Seattle looked like really, really bad matchups, and of course, Seattle suffered a multitude of injuries. Not that I think Todd Gurley, maybe he dominates them if they're healthy, but things change very, very quickly in the NFL. And
That's true.
Todd Gurley is king this year.
Now, I want to focus now on a different championship, and that would be Jason.
Mm-hmm.
Jason managed against all odds on this earth. I don't know how it happened. We joke about magic.
Christmas
But
magic.
Everybody out there should be really, really thankful because Jason has managed to win the Listener League 2 years in a row, and that means that 11 spots will be open for listeners next year. Normally, if a listener wins that league, they are invited back the next year. But Jason has squashed that.
That's right.
And you actually called
for the people.
You actually called
I
the
did.
loser.
I called Brian on the phone. He has been asking, nay, begging, for me to call him this season. I said no. But
you figured you'd be calling to concede because your team was as awful as it can possibly be.
Absolutely. It was a hot pile of steamy garbage, and I lost Alfred Morris and Hunter Henry and Antonio Brown. And I called my shot. I said I was going to play strong defense.
Yeah.
And a little bit of magic, and I was going to win with about 75 points. Ha-ha! For the people.
Unreal.
Sorry, Brian.
Unreal. So congrats to you, Jason.
Your loser trophy is in the mail.
You definitely need to send him one. All right, you can follow us on Twitter at the FF Ballers. The website's thefantasyfootballers.com. And a reminder, this is a year-long show, so we will be here not just through Week 17, but on into the new year. We'll bring out the truth episodes where we will tell you the truth about the rankings and where people ended up in 2017, who you can trust going into 2018, who will be free agents, who will be interesting dynasty pickups. We'll even be mentioning a couple of those guys on the Rising Stars part of today's show, but a lot is coming in January and February. Honestly, it's just plain fun.
And don't forget the footies.
Oh, my goodness.
I mean, that's up next week.
Yes. Very, very.
World renowned.
I have a feeling Todd Gurley's trophy mantle will be full of
footies?
Full of footies.
Nothing he would be more proud of.
Stockings on a mantle.
We need to have him back on the show, but with I was going to say with like a better cell phone than whatever you used last time.
I think calling from a
he
foot.
should be able to afford it. Like
he was
maybe
on Max's foot phone from Get Smart.
We normally have NFL players give us an intro when we have them on the show. They give us an intro for the beginning of the podcast. We got David Johnson, Allen Robinson, and those guys. And we tried to get Gurley to do that. And what did it sound like? It was yeah, we haven't been able to use that one. All right, don't forget shopballers.com. You can get that FootclanTitle T-shirt. I want to talk news.
News and notes from around the league.
All right. Anthony Lynn said that Melvin Gordon's left foot is in a walking boot after sustaining an ankle injury.
Uh-oh.
That's going to hurt the playoff hopes of the Los Angeles Chargers.
Yes, certainly will.
Joe Mixon left with an ankle injury, and he left early once again. This is the second time in about 4 weeks that he really hurt fantasy owners. He was my start of the week. Got in the game.
What are you going to do, man? The guy gets hurt.
And then he goes down. And
in fairness, you did say your start of the week was either him or Gio.
The problem is that he was active,
right.
So you probably started Mixon. And Gio had a monster game.
I say Gio's success, all the Joe Mixon owners are looking at what Bernard was able to do in that matchup going, oh, man, what could have been for Joe?
Samaje Perine exited with an Achilles injury. Capri Bibbs will be on the Week 17 waiver.
Hot. He's coming in hot.
Pickups. Sterling Shepard suffered a neck injury in Week 16 against Arizona. I had been off of him that morning. I answered a bunch of questions, and most of the time didn't choose Shepard just because of the Patrick Peterson Cardinals defense, how it's played. And this is unfortunate. He'd been dealing with some migraines. Now he's got a neck injury.
Yeah.
We don't know much more. Evan Ingram, you left with a rib injury. He let you down in the fantasy playoffs. Nothing he could do about it. But
and just for some context here of my matchups with Andy, we played twice, and I was defeated twice by Andy. But in those two matchups, top 5 fantasy tight end Evan Ingram, those two matchups combined give me 1.7 points. I mean, Andy's defense on Evan Ingram is unparalleled.
I had a meeting with the guys, and I said, look, guard the middle of the field, put an extra man on him, and then hurt his ribs.
Ridiculous.
And they
I think it was the ribs part that really worked out the best.
Yeah. Well, it was like
good job, Greg Williams.
You know, fantasy owners, they go through so much, but Mike's only hopes were for Ingram and Dez in those afternoon games to have big games. And within about 5 minutes, Ingram is like wincing on every play, and Dez is constantly going to the sideline. And it's like, that's not fair.
No, it's not.
DeMarco Murray sprained his knee. Another MRI coming today. Henry.
Fine.
Henry.
We did it, everybody. This is Derrick Henry week.
Yeah, when you don't need it. Travaris Cadet out for the season, dislocated ankle. That's unfortunate.
It was rough.
He actually had looked pretty good behind LaShawn McCoy. And then there was some news that broke this morning. This is not definitive. My confidence in this report is not 100%. But there was a report by Pro Football Weekly that Bruce Arians and the Cardinals are agreeing to part ways after the year.
Won't shock me at all.
If Arians goes, I think it's going to increase the likelihood that Palmer and Fitzgerald retire. I doubt Fitzgerald, despite just reaching the 100-catch mark for the 3rd straight year. Incredible. I mean, he's such a good player still.
Right.
Whether he'll want to go through the new quarterback, new coach, new offense potentially. You know, Bruce Arians has a very distinct offense and has maximized Larry Fitzgerald's success. It seems more like, now, a lot of people saw the extension that he signed, but that extension that he signed only guaranteed that he'd just be in Arizona if he came back this year. He can still retire. You saw Kurt Warner do this in Arizona a while back.
I think it's a really – I imagine this is the hardest thing for a football player is leaving something left like Kurt Warner did. Like you know that you have the juice, your body can give you at least a year or two left, but – for the general well-being of the rest of your life, it's probably the better thing to do is just to walk away. And I'm with Andy. If Bruce leaves, I think Fitz leaves. I think Palmer leaves.
And now with how Jimmy G's playing and the Rams are playing, this might be a tough couple years for both Seattle and Arizona. Seattle's going to have to rework some of their defense.
I have to pull my trash bag out of the trash.
Oh, well, I have. Yeah, I've got a bunch
shame.
of those from about 19. The early 1990 through 2000. I did want to share a couple little FootclanTitle tweets that we got. A lot of people, congratulations on your success. And I know that not everybody won. A lot of you went out there and you faced Todd Gurley. A lot of you went out there and you had Michael Crabtree or Alshon Jeffrey.
Oh.
I mean, Mike and I's matchup was well in hand, but I had Jeffrey, he had Crabtree. Just imagine going into Monday night.
I don't want to.
And needing a point.
Having both of those guys on your roster?
Oh, I mean, people have long memories for these type of things. And Michael Crabtree and Alshon Jeffrey's draft stock might go down simply, a few picks just because of what they did this week.
I'm going to scoop up so much cheap Michael Crabtree next year.
What in the world happened, though, with Michael Crabtree?
We don't know.
He was on the field for 44% of snaps, and I counted at least the last 8 drives he wasn't on the field at all. I mean, what are you doing, Oakland? I mean, this offense looks terrible with this offensive coordinator right now.
Yeah, I was going to say they'll have some coaching changes, and that will be good news for the offense.
But his odds of catching passes went down without him on the field, right? I mean,
0%.
To 0%. People who needed him didn't even have the hope. I mean, 17 targets last week, 2 touchdowns. Let's not use him. Let's just keep him off the field. I mean, I kept waiting for a news report to come through that he had been concussed or that he was in the tent or something happened, and nothing's come out.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting if this is an injury or if this was a off-the-field type of incident.
Got mad on the sideline at the coaches because he's not getting targets or something, and then they take him off the field.
Who knows?
But, yeah, very unfortunate. Jeffrey and Crabtree destroyed people. Will wrote in. He said, first-year FootclanTitle was down 26 points on Monday night, came back and got the W.
Nice.
Brian Morris, 3 straight years in the championship game, finally got the FootclanTitle. That's pretty sweet.
Perseverance.
This one's from @FFB. A tweeter has no name. He said, got that hashtag FootclanTitle going against Gurley.
It can be done.
It can be done. Yeah, you got to just give yourself odds everywhere else. George Lopez, dear @FFBaller, started playing and listening to you in 2015, made the playoffs, came in 3rd. Then last year, 2 finals, 1 title, and then this year made it back to the finals,
nice,
won
George.
Once again. Another FootclanTitle. Pretty sweet. A lot of people grab the win.
I also should have, when I was musing on Todd Gurley, just in the ultimate, spittoon in my face. The team that I had Todd Gurley, I lost in the semifinals.
Oh, no.
Because I got matched up against my brother-in-law who had the absolute perfect lineup for that week. It's like, everyone's winning titles with Todd Gurley. I reluctantly drafted him on this one team, and then I lose. It's ridiculous.
Crazy. Tomorrow we will go through all the playoff scenarios and break down a little bit more of what we expect teams to be doing. The Eagles are really the one team that have the biggest question marks in regards to who's going to be playing, whether they'll be playing. Doug Peterson has come out and said he's not deciding that till Wednesday, but they're kind of the team to avoid, so to speak, if you're in a Week 17 title game. Let's talk through some of the big studs that won people titles.
This week's Fantasy Stud Muffins.
Well, Jason, you handily won your Jared Goff, Case Keenum bet. Goff came out.
Give him the horn, man. Come on.
King
Goffrey.
You treat royalty appropriately.
You're absolutely right. 301 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, which is incredible considering
almost half of his passing yards were just screens to Todd Gurley.
Yeah, those are working. Those are working really well. Another one of those, incredible wisdom from Jeff Fisher, who tried to take credit for this team.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, Mike, you were
that is just –
explain what happened.
So Jeff Fisher, without using the exact words, basically said that he left the team in a very good position and, you're welcome, Sean McVay. I mean, come on. Come on. You have got to be kidding me.
Well, he never threw screens to Todd Gurley.
No, he did not. He didn't use Gurley. Gurley, last year was forced into a passing role because of Benny Cunningham's injury. But it's why are you not doing this? This is what he did in college. He profiled as a 3-down back, and you're using him as a 2-down thumper.
It's setting up those screens too. It's
the
design of the play that Sean McVay has brought. It's not just the play's breaking down, check down.
Yes.
These are designed. Beautiful screens.
I really, really want to know if Sean McVay, and this is legit. I'm not joking right now. I want to know, did Sean McVay grow up playing Madden? Are we entering an era of these new coaches have grown up calling plays, managing teams? Because if you look at high-level Madden players, this is serious business, and you learn where matchups are to be exploited. You learn how to call an offense. It would shock me if he's no, I never played it.
Mike is trying to get a head coaching job in the NFL right now with his pedigree in Madden.
You need an OC. I'm ready.
Throw it to Crabtree.
Put me in, coach.
Kirk Cousins, Blake Bortles, start of the week. Blake Bortles.
Oh, man. That was
garbage time, right?
It was. I tweeted, this was the ultimate Bortles, because this is Bortles is borderling, and now he is borderling.
Yeah.
Because we went from the good Bortles, now he stinks, to now he's just the garbage time man. And to be fair,
the garbage man.
This was a crazy game. 382-3, but he threw.
I actually think he really
3 picks, two touchdowns.
He weathered the storm. I mean, one of those picks guaranteed was on Keelan Cole.
Yeah,
running
we talked about that.
But Bortles, it was garbage time. But Bortles, once everything settled down at the beginning, I thought he played quite well yet again.
Jimmy G, Joe Flacco, Big Ben.
Jimmy Garoppolo.
My goodness.
He did the impossible. Nobody has been able to throw on the Jacksonville Jaguars at all. And all he does is put up 242 yards, 2 touchdowns, another rushing touchdown.
With day 3 rookies to throw to. I mean, next year you get Pierre Garçon back. We already like Marquise Goodwin. And I think they'll add some weapons to this offense. Things are looking up for the 4-0 Jimmy Garoppolo. We'll talk about him later. I mean, incredible. Todd Gurley, Deion Lewis, Gio Bernard.
Yes.
C.J. Anderson.
Yeah, C.J. came through in the playoffs. I hope you played him.
He did come through. 16 for 88 and a touchdown. 7 for 45 on 9 targets. I mean, 9 targets you're talking about.
Yes, because he's good.
Added a 2-point conversion.
Because he's good.
He is. He's very good. The question I have is, will he be a Bronco next year? I know his contract is
I'll check it real quick.
Yeah, you can look into some of the contract info.
All right. Well, who else? Bilal Powell had the big game, which was kind of like, you had your odds-on hopes that Bilal Powell would be the guy for New York. He was 19 for 145 and a touchdown.
Yeah, he looked great.
If you took a chance on him, you got paid off. Melvin Gordon was good. Kareem Hunt was good. Lev Bell, the big guys. Outside of that, is there somebody that really impressed you in the stud running back category? Jordan Howard.
The one I would like to talk about, Jordan Howard touchdowned his way in because he was 22 for 44 on the ground. But the guy I want to talk about is Deion Lewis, who is,
took full advantage of Rex Burkhead.
Look, I love Rex Burkhead, and I love Mike Gillislee, but you knew coming into the season that Deion Lewis is likely the best running back on the roster, but can he stay healthy enough that they're able to utilize him? And he's back, man. 24 carries. Going into next year, it will be very interesting to see what the Patriots do, because Rex Burkhead was only a 1-year contract. I would expect he's back. Mike Gillislee was a 2-year. I would expect him to be gone. So it's just what will Deion Lewis be next year?
Yeah, I mean it's a good question.
Yeah, it's hard. I will say this: if he comes back and appears to be the starter, I won't be drafting him. I won't be drafting him high, because what you've seen, there will be stretches where he's awesome. There were stretches where Gillislee was awesome. There were stretches where Burkhead was awesome, and you'll see that again next year. It's a Patriots running back. They fooled me this year. They fooled me in the beginning.
Well, Philly's kind of running that offense right now too.
Right.
Philadelphia with Blunt, Clement. Wendell Smallwood's been a healthy scratch. This was a guy who you thought might be the starter at the beginning of the year. By the way, before we talk about stud muffins at the wide receiver position, we do want to thank FantasyChamps.com.
Oh, yes.
They are your home for fantasy football trophies, fantasy football rings, fantasy championship belts, which are custom engraved, fantasy football draft boards and awards and plaques and all that good stuff, and now they're brand new fantasy football jerseys. They have the best designs. They're perfect for your league and your office, wherever you want to show off your fantasy football greatness. And look, these are high-quality items, high-quality options to celebrate that Foot Clan title, to celebrate a great season, and to make your league a little bit more special. So check them out, FantasyChamps.com. Use the promo code BALLERS to get 10% off.
And we also want to thank Pristine Auction for sponsoring the show, the best sports memorabilia website on the entire interwebs.
So much good stuff.
So much. And there's new stuff every single day. That's just an extra part that's fantastic about Pristine Auction, is you can just put it in that routine of you're looking for a certain thing. Well, every day. You got to jump on and check every single day, because it could be up there. Hundreds of daily auctions, and the prices are fantastic. This is just a couple of things that these were auctioned yesterday. David Johnson signed Cardinals jersey, only $91.
Nice.
A T.Y. Hilton signed Colts, 8x10 photo, only $42. And I know, ladies and gentlemen, that there will be some Todd Gurley stuff coming through. The players who you used on your championship roster, they will be available if you want to grab their autograph. Todd Gurley's on the wall just staring at me in our
I put
studio.
it in close proximity to you.
But you can check it out, Pristine Auction, PRISTINE auction.com. Make a completely free account. Let them know that the Fantasy Footballers sent you.
All right, let's talk about wide receiver stud muffins, guys.
Before we move to wide receivers, just an update for C.J. Anderson. They have him under contract for 2 years, about $4.5 million per year, but they can cut him for zero dead money this offseason.
Yeah,
okay.
That was my worry.
Well, we'll definitely be talking about a number of these players that have situations similar to C.J. Anderson and where we think they're going to go on future episodes. Larry Fitzgerald, 9 for 119 and a touchdown on 15 targets.
Larry!
Also completed a 21-yard pass for the first time in his career. What did you think of Larry's performance?
Oh, man. I mean, when he is at home, he is the centerpiece of the Cardinals. So they've lost, John Brown, even though he actually you did see
scored
him. Yes, you saw him this week. For all intents and purposes, they lost him. They lost David Johnson. They lost Carson Palmer. But Larry has been Pro Bowl Larry all year long. He is unbelievable, and I'm glad because if this was his final game playing for the hometown team, I'm glad that he gets to go out with 9 for 119 and a touchdown, throwing passes, just looking like the star he has always been for the Arizona fans.
Plays Seattle next week, a Seattle team that they're playing for their lives right now up in Seattle, so I'm not as bullish on him traveling and performing this way on the road. But if you're starting Larry in Week 17, I mean, he's going to be on the field. You don't have to worry about him being benched.
Hey, guys, really quick, what wide receiver do you think Larry is on the season?
Oh, great question.
I'm going to go
7?
I'm going to go 5.
I guess I'll go 5.
Sorry, Jason.
That's all right. I got it right now.
3 straight years of 100-plus receptions, 1,000-plus yards for Larry Fitzgerald.
Oh.
By the way, I'm going to rant for a second.
Oh, no.
Dallas, listen to me, because this performance by Dallas was embarrassing. And first of all, stop trying to pretend that Dez Bryant is 25 years old. He's not 25 years old anymore. Someone needs to come along in Dallas and do what Arizona did to Larry Fitzgerald for the Dallas Cowboys. They need to put Dez in the slot. They need to move him around and use his size. They need to use those mitts of his, and they need to put him in a position where he's not trying to play. He's 29 now, and he's not the same player he used to be. But you're trying to use him like the same player. The only real reception he had was that play that broke down for Dak. I just think it's ridiculous. You're not using him the way that you need to use him. He's not the same old Dez Bryant.
Yes, and I agree.
And you're going to feel that in the draft, fantasy football drafts next year, by the way.
Oh, yeah, he's going to plummet. But he's
still a red zone threat.
He still has juice. You just have to figure out, stop 9-routing Dez Bryant.
Yeah, he's not that player anymore.
Yeah.
All right, Julio Jones came through. Ted Ginn, big game, 4 for 76 and a touchdown. Juju was doing nothing. And then along came one drive where he caught a bomb and then a 17-yard touchdown and had a great game.
Yeah, Juju
led the team in targets.
Juju Smith-Schuster has been he's been great, but they have found themselves a fantastic wide receiver, a compliment to Antonio Brown, and this Steelers passing attack. I mean, with Antonio Brown and Juju starting next season, they're going to be terrifying.
I was going to say,
it's all a matter of whether or not Big Ben is back.
That's a very fair point, but I think whoever they bring in then is set up for a large amount of early success.
Fair. Stephon Diggs, DeAndre Hopkins. What a catch by Hopkins.
That was insane.
Third time this year where Hopkins had basically been shut out in the first half against Arizona, against Jacksonville, and then in this game against Pittsburgh, and still gave you a fantasy game. If he's not the best wide receiver in football, he's certainly right there.
He's not better than Antonio Brown, but
he's not better than Antonio Brown. I agree with that, but he might have. He offers you a little bit something different than Brown does in the fact that his vertical game in terms of going up and getting the ball and his hands.
So, and having said all those amazing things,
he can offensive pass interference better than just about anybody.
On that incredible catch, there is the slow motion of him just grabbing a handful of the defender's
Joe
jersey.
Hayden. Yeah.
I had the game on mute when that play was happening. So I saw the play and I saw the replay, and I was not sure if this was if they were showing, oh, what an incredible grab, like if they were talking about it like that, or if they're going, oh yeah, this is clear, offensive pass interference.
He's the best.
Yeah, it was a great catch, but it was also
that was Mike
illegal.
Tirico, right? Mike Tirico and Kurt Warner were calling that game. I'm telling you, that was the greatest thing either of them had ever seen in their entire life. They must have shown the replay 600 times. I mean, it was a great catch. Don't get me wrong, but those two. They were like, I'm just so proud to be here to have witnessed that. I mean,
it was really the second toe tap was amazing.
That part was.
Hey, Tyreek Hill. Brooks, where's Tyreek Hill on this season? He came back 6 for 109. He also caught a touchdown that didn't count.
Yeah, that's nonsense.
Where he caught the ball. Now, see, he did what DeAndre Hopkins did. Caught it and then got both feet in, and then it didn't count as a touchdown.
Because he got drop ruled. Brooks is looking it up.
I'm going to guess Tyreek Hill's finished. I bet he is top. I bet he's 8.
Yeah.
I'm going to go 7.
I'm going to go 9.
Where's he at, Brooks?
Ooh, wide receiver 4.
Oh, I win again.
Oh, my goodness.
So, though, I mean.
That's half-point PPR.
That's an incredible season. We need to not. You might forget. Tyreek Hill. What a year. What a year. Keelan Cole, 6 for 108.
We'll talk about him in a little bit.
All right. Then we won't talk about him now.
All right.
Antonio Gates, 6 for 81 on a touchdown in the absence of Hunter Henry.
6 for 81.
Yeah, I mean, if you're
that's pretty good.
It's great.
No, that's fantastic. That's what I'm saying is if you're the New York Jets, Antonio Gates is 62 years old.
He is a lumbering tree out there right now.
I mean, how does this happen? Good for you, Antonio.
Yes.
This
6 of 8 targets, and he's relevant for next year, and he's relevant for the playoffs if they manage to get in.
Next week.
Oh,
yeah, I was
not next
taking
year.
a task on that one.
No. Next week. Eric Ebron once again coming through, 5 for 83 and a touchdown. Gronk.
Just like Jason, always.
Jason, where is your level of excitement for Eric Ebron next year?
Just enough success for Jason to be in on him next year.
You're darn right it is.
Because it hasn't been just enough.
Oh, it's been awesome. Finally.
Over the past 3 weeks, he is the tight end 1.
Yeah. You're darn right. And you want to know why?
He's not been hurt.
Because
he's catching the ball.
Because he's catching the ball. He's always had the targets and the talent. Dude, you realize this. Eric Ebron is 24 years old.
First-round tight end.
You feel like Eric Ebron has been in there forever. Okay, he's 27. He's 24. This is like when tight ends come into their prime.
But he's been the tight end Brashad Perryman of tight ends. I mean, he constantly hurt, constantly dropping the ball, and all of a sudden flashing so that Jason can be all in on him next year.
I won't be all in.
Since week 12, he has an 82.4 catch percent.
What? He's just trying to make up for the years of drops.
Hey, credit where credit is due. Let's talk. I'm surprised he's not your rising star, by the way. Let's talk our rising stars. Maybe.
Raising Cane's Rising Stars of the Week.
Yeah, Brooks really messed that drop up, guys.
Dang it, Brooks.
Time. Come on, man. All right, my rising star is Matt Breida of the San Francisco 49ers, 11 for 71 and a touchdown. And this is under the dynasty header. If we don't know whether Carlos Hyde will be back on this roster next year, and Matt Breida has done enough this year to impress me. He had a big game. He's got some quicks. Now, it's funny because Carlos Hyde came out and, proclaimed that the 49ers would win the Super Bowl next year.
Did he really?
So he's clearly planning to be there.
But he's posturing is what he is doing.
And Hyde is good, but they've given Breida a lot of opportunities this year. I wonder if it'll be him and another draft piece, or whether Joe Williams ever gets to work himself into that rotation. But I think if you're in a dynasty league and he is somehow unowned, or you can snag him, he's another one of those forward-thinking pickups where you could go into next year with Jimmy G, kind of a second year for Shanahan. Obviously, Breida was one of those guys that Shanahan picked. and to be part of this offense. So I think he's an interesting dynasty play.
I would go more of a keeper league because I imagine he's owned in the majority of dynasty leagues. Andy's right, though. If somehow he's just laying around, shame on you. Pick him up. But for a keeper league, if you have the rules that through Week 17, whoever is on your roster at the end of Week 17, they are keeper eligible, I would scoop him up. Absolutely, and just in case Carlos Hyde leaves town.
Similar to, last year, guys like Burkhead.
Right.
Where you could kind of just pick them up just to see what would happen.
Absolutely. And I think Carlos Hyde's definitely posturing. They're going to have to show him the big dollars, like really big dollars, if they want to keep him after what they did to him this offseason.
I don't think they'll do it.
Yeah,
I don't think
they will.
So
I think Carlos Hyde moves on to a different team.
All right. Mike, why don't you stay with the 49ers here? And this nickname is outstanding.
I did not come up with this one. I wish I did, but Jimmy GQ.
Good-looking man.
Jimmy Garoppolo has been, unbelievable what he has done in the past 4 starts. A quarterback rating of 102.4 against the Jacksonville Jaguars. We talked about his line, 242 for 2. A very, very handsome quarterback sneak for a touchdown. Shout out to
a handsome quarterback sneak.
Yeah, no, this is from Smiz on Twitter. And I'm like, this is incredible. Like everything he does, you have to refer to it as a very handsome whatever. It's a very handsome pass.
It's very funny.
This is what I will be doing moving forward.
Okay, just letting the people know.
Yes, letting everyone know that Jimmy GQ. And I agree. If a second year or an entire offseason under Kyle Shanahan, we know that Kyle Shanahan quarterbacks put up fantasy numbers. Ask Matt Ryan what it's like to play for Kyle Shanahan. So I'm very excited for Jimmy Garoppolo next year.
Looks like, Jason, you've picked my guy from last week.
Yes, I did, and he is continuing to rise. In fact, over the last 4 weeks, I have picked the guy who is the wide receiver 3.
Oh, this must be Julio or
Hopkins.
Hopkins.
No, it's Keelan Cole. Keelan Cole has been on fire, and I'm going to stoke those coals. Keep him hot.
Oh, very nice.
Next week, if you are one of those unfortunate poor saps playing in Week 17, first, stop it. And then second, put in Keelan Cole. They're playing Tennessee. Tennessee has not been great against wide receivers, and Keelan Cole's just been on fire. I'm absolutely staying in the flames.
I need to caution people, though.
Sure.
And the reason I need to do that is because he did leave the game with an ankle injury in the 4th quarter. Part of that Bortles comeback attempt was without Cole on the field. So if Cole has a health issue, otherwise he runs high percentage routes. I'm all aboard the Cole train. And
I like it.
I think he's
Cole train.
It's another jazz reference. That's good with me.
I didn't even mean to say it, and I like it a lot. But I'm all aboard because he runs those little crosser routes, and other than the one where he stopped and cost Blake Bortles a pick.
He got it from the wide receivers coach.
Yes, he did.
He got the business.
Those are the Raising Cane's Rising Stars of the Week. Matt Burita, Jimmy GQ, and Keelan Cole. Remember, game day tastes better with Raising Cane's tailgates full of fresh 24-hour marinated hand-battered chicken fingers and fresh brewed sweet tea.
It's also a great way to start recovering from your championship loss.
Did you have some last night then? Visit raisingcanes.com, by the way, to follow.
Cannot confirm nor deny.
You can celebrate your victory or you can treat yourself in a loss. Either way, treat yourself.
Speaking of defeat.
Pooped in his big boy pants.
Man, there were not diapers big enough to hold some of the things we got from fantasy players this week.
No, there was not.
I mean, where do you want to start? Do you want to start with Dak?
Yeah. I mean, unbelievable.
Is Tyron Smith the NFL MVP? Did we miss that?
That's very possible because he went out right away in the. If it wasn't the first play, it was the first
3
first
plays.
Drive.
It was 3 plays in.
Dak Prescott, who, I mean, halfway through the year, Dak Prescott was cruising.
Yeah,
he was solid yet again. He was putting up great fantasy numbers. I mean, once again, Dak is not a top 3 guy, but he gives you those a quarterback 1 number every single week. And then halfway through with when the Zeke suspension hit and the Tyron Smith injury hit, everything completely fell apart for Dak Prescott. It was extremely disappointing. Are you expecting a bounce back for Dak next year, or is this more the norm, or is the first half more the norm?
I think we're going to end up landing somewhere in between, but there have been holes that have been exposed. When he was behind that line with Ezekiel Elliott, at that time, Dak was set up for success. Everything worked well, and he was never asked to do too much.
Right.
And he was able to succeed with, in that world. Now, if your team is not as good, if your defense isn't as good, if your running back is missing or your left tackle, you could see that there's a reason maybe he wasn't a first-round pick. He's got some holes in his game. And I think going forward next year, look, Dak was one of my guys this year, one of my 3 my guys. I was super thrilled with him the first half of the year, really believed in him, but I am basing this off of film. What I've seen with my eyeballs over the last 2 months, really, has been a bad quarterback. There's no other way to say it. He has missed throws. He's had poor decisions. Honestly, he just looks worse than Bortles if you're just talking film. And I don't know that it's this bad. I think right now it's one of those when it rains, it pours. You're in your head. An offseason will help. And I don't think he's going to come back and suck next year.
They've certainly had a lack of consistency on the offensive side when it comes to missing Zeke, the offensive line issues. They signed Terrence Williams to a 4-year deal. He scored 0 touchdowns this year. 0.
That was not.
And then Dez isn't who you expect him to be. Jason Witten is getting up there in age. I would not be surprised if this team comes out and makes a splash at the wide receiver position.
It's happening.
To fix that issue. Now, I put Dak in the same category I put Derek Carr in. I think, most quarterbacks are in this category. You need to give them the ability to succeed with an offensive line that protects them. And Derek Carr, they both showed regression due to offensive line play, and then it got in their head, like you said, and just snowballed. I mean, Derek Carr is not as bad as he's been. He really isn't.
I would hope not.
Can't be.
Can't be.
Marcus Mariota is another one.
Absolutely.
Fits right in there.
Their offensive line was decimated this year, couldn't run the ball, and all of a sudden Mariota's no good. Even Jameis Winston, regression from a lot of these second-year, third-year guys that, you put them in a position to succeed, they're going to succeed. So they all need to do work. I mean, Derek Carr, Nick Foles, Case Keenum, those were some other poopers this week. I don't want to linger too long on some of these guys because we still have to get to waivers and we got to get to some streamers. But at the running back position, I think the biggest letdown for fantasy owners had to be Devonta Freeman.
Has to be Devonta Freeman, and
because he was someone you counted on. A lot of these other guys, now McCaffrey's in that category and Kenyon Drake.
Yes, I would agree.
But those 3 are really the guys you counted on and didn't deliver.
But Devonta Freeman, in case you didn't watch the game and you were just tracking your fantasy scores, he had the ball on the 1-yard line twice.
Yeah, it felt like half the game. Every time I looked, the one turned into a fumble, the other he just getting stuffed. I mean, that's just a really unfortunate timed bad performance from Devonta Freeman.
Yeah. I mean, it was a make-or-break week for fantasy owners, and he fumbled on the goal line, got stuffed.
And Kenyon Drake, has been one of my favorite players. Let me down. I mean,
he didn't catch a pass.
That was what was the biggest issue, was especially when it came to the fourth quarter, and you thought, oh, he's going to be the check-down machine he's been over the last several weeks. 0 receptions. It was so bizarre, and he was wide open. I'm watching this because I had Kenyon Drake in our championship game, and I'm like, Jay, what are you doing? He's there. Just keep dumping it. You'll move the ball. Instead, he wanted to throw it out of bounds deep down the field over and over.
Weird game for Jerick McKinnon. Really wasn't on the field very much. He let fantasy owners down. Jamal Williams, despite getting the work and having Hundley back.
His is the same thing.
No catches.
His line is almost identical to Kenyon Drake, and if you add 3 or 4 receptions to that line, he puts up a fine fantasy game. But I mean, come on, people.
Mike Davis's career ended on Sunday.
Yeah,
15 for 25.
Yeah, that was fun.
What is that? That
was a fun ride.
Something per carry. Jay Stu, not good.
Nope.
Lamar Miller, I'll say this: every time I saw him with a carry, He looked great.
Right.
He didn't get very
10
many.
carries.
Alfred Blue had double the carries and had a much better game.
Yeah, they were checking some things out. Krampus, 6 for 7. Doug Martin.
Doug Martin.
Enjoy your retirement.
Oh, well.
Sorry, that's harsh. That's really harsh.
Whereas I was correct with Gurley, there I was not correct with Dougie. So
I believe you mean Krampus.
Krampus, yes. Wide receivers, let's go Michael Crabtree.
And
a delightful goose.
Alshon Jeffrey. How is that possible?
It does not seem possible. Like,
do we need to linger for the sake of those that were suffered with Crabtree and Jeffrey?
Just understand, FootClan, that if you went down in flames with these characters, we feel your pain because I too went down. Brooks, the judge himself, went down in flames. A very, very good friend of ours who was watching the games with us. He got second place. He would have taken home $1,000 with one freaking catch.
One Crabtree
catch.
So we know it.
Unbelievable. Adam Thielen. It's been a few bad weeks in a row. What do you read into that? Diggs has been better than Thielen the last 2 weeks. 6 targets, not quite what you're expecting. A game where they got Chicago on the docket next week, and they still need to play to lock down that number 2 seed.
I'm still going to trust him, but for Adam Thielen, who's been a stud wide receiver 1 the vast majority of the year, to come out and literally put up his 2 worst games of the season.
He's the inverse Gurley.
Yeah,
all I was thinking while realizing how bad he's been for the playoffs is how good a draft pick Adam Thielen is going to be next year. He's going to fall like crazy and be undervalued.
Is that going to happen?
Because he has let people down in a drastic way at the most important time. But going forward, even this year, at home this week against Chicago, I would absolutely still be starting Adam Thielen. This last game, I had shared last week, I was not that big a Case Keenum fan because it was very cold weather on the road in a game that could easily script out the passing. And, at least this next week he's at home, and I think that'll help Thielen quite a bit.
What do you make of Brandon Cook's recent run? 2 receptions in Week 13, 1 reception in Week 14, 4 against Pittsburgh, had the touchdown, and then 2 against Buffalo this week. So single digits, below 5 points in 3 of the last 4 games. How's that going to impact his draft stock, and should it? Was this first half of the year Brandon Cooks, the one that was top 10, the real Brandon Cooks in this offense, or do we have cause for concern moving forward with Cooks even in Week 17?
It's funny because I had taken the L completely on Brandon Cooks. I thought he would be very inconsistent, but my projection for Brandon Cooks is he's going to be a wide receiver 1 who doesn't feel like you ever had a wide receiver 1. And
he's technically a 2 now.
Yeah, for those who rode him into the playoffs, it's going to feel like that, even though he helped. He was a key piece in taking you to the playoffs. He let you down big time. And I think that this is not these numbers, but Brandon Cooks he's an inconsistent guy who he's a very gifted athlete. But he's an okay wide receiver.
That's fair.
I would just throw this out there, and I don't know if it's the Achilles problem, but Brady to me has not looked anywhere near as good, just film-wise, not stat-wise. When I watch him throw the last section of the season, as opposed to how he came out. And at some point you have to know, like, the age, the arm strength, it will catch up. Like, it will. It did for Peyton Manning, and you saw his throws, a little bit less and more errant, and the accuracy start to dip. And so I do worry long-term, Brady can't give you another good 3 years regardless of what he says. It would just be impossible.
I mean, Brady, statistically speaking, had a fine game. I mean, his quarterback rating was over 100, 75% completion, 224, and 2 touchdowns. But he's not giving you those. He's not a guaranteed top 5 quarterback. That was a weird inflection. Quarterback every single week.
I think there'll be a lot of debate next year about the Packers wide receivers. What do you do with Jordy Nelson in the draft? What do you do with Randall Cobb in the draft?
That's going to be fun.
They both stunk this week. Josh Gordon had a down week at Chicago. Marvin Jones and Golden Tate, neither was very impressive. It seemed like Stafford decided to be a quarterback for a quarter, and then the rest of the game he just took it off, took a knee. At the tight end position, this happened to you last year, Jason, but Greg Olsen. He gives you this shiny star of a game last week and then comes out and gives 3 for 27 on 6 targets. Super disappointing. Outside of, Olsen, Delaney Walker stunk. Cameron Brate did not deliver on the hope that you had with O.J. Howard out of the game. Otherwise, that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Tight ends just they pooped in their big boy pants this season.
All right, we're going to blitz through some of these Week 17 waiver pickups. Guys, let me know who you like.
Put me in, coach.
All right, wide receivers. Where are you looking?
Assuming he's healthy, I still like Keelan Cole. I think the matchup in Tennessee should be really good. He's available in about half the leagues. He's just been scorching hot.
I'll just piggyback on that because D.D. Westbrook is still available in half of leagues. I mean, of course, these percentages of owned, it's really hard to know how much that will translate to your league because most of leagues are done. And so, but Keelan Cole, you could pick up both Keelan Cole and D.D. Westbrook. It's possible. And if Keelan Cole is in, and if the reports are good, I'm going to play Cole.
Yep.
And if he's out, then D.D. Westbrook even gets a bigger bump.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
You also have Kendall Wright had an okay game again. Chris Godwin, if Deshaun Jackson's out.
But Josh Doxson is back in play. I know it was only 2 catches, but he gets the Giants. And Kirk Cousins is playing for a new contract right now. He's playing. He's showing off for his suitors.
Yeah, I like him next week a lot.
So I'm good playing Josh Doxson.
Derrick Henry, the big running back pickup.
This is it.
Yeah.
And Gio Bernard if Joe Mixon's out.
I mean, both, especially with Henry, he's probably owned, but he might be owned by your team, and now you just get the chance to throw him in there. But if he's out there, he'll be a monster, even though it's a tough matchup.
Well, he's always a monster. He's always built like a monster. It's just a matter of, he hasn't had a lot of success this year either, outside of 70-yard runs when the game's out of the way in the fourth quarter. So I'm not that enthusiastic about him, but against Jacksonville, we'll see. Capri Bibbs?
Yeah, it's a great pickup with Samaje Perine dealing with another injury. He left because of the Achilles. Capri Bibbs also gets to play the Giants because he's also on Washington.
A name I wrote down before the show that I really liked was Brandon Oliver. We don't know the extent of Melvin Gordon's injury, but, I mean, if he's back, obviously Brandon Oliver is irrelevant, but if Melvin Gordon is out in a really important game against Oakland –
you are correct. Brandon Oliver would be fed the ball a lot. Peyton Barber is
Brandon Oliver is the Los Angeles Chargers running back.
Yes, excellent. Peyton Barber is the
He's been getting the workload.
He is the Santa Claus to Doug Martin's Krampus.
Yes,
because Peyton Barber has been solid. He gets to play the Saints. Not the best matchup, but you could certainly do worse. I think that he's a fine pickup.
By the way, following up on a previous comment, I told you I didn't have a lot of confidence in it. ESPN's now reporting, multiple reporters at ESPN, that Cardinals coach Bruce Arians does not plan to step down after the season.
Oh,
and that the report is 100% not true. So that's a contradicting report. Therefore, we know nothing. So here's what I think: he's either going to be the coach or not. And we'll find out soon.
Hot take.
Tight end pickups: Antonio Gates, Eric Ebron have to be the 2 big tight end pickups this week.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep. Grab.
Which one would you grab?
Oh, man.
I would grab Antonio Gates.
I think I would too.
Him and Phillip Rivers have they have a connection.
They've got that connection. He gets to play Oakland, who has been terrible against tight end on the season. That's where I think I would lean, but Eric Ebron is not a bad second place if Antonio Gates is not available.
I agree.
Okay. Outside of that, we're going to go ahead and jump into we got quarterback streamers now?
You got to give them.
You know it.
Cool. What is a quarterback streamer anyway?
Quarterback streamer is one of those players you can grab off the waiver.
Full stream ahead.
I know we'll just leave that in there. And the thing is today's show has like 2 shows packed into one. That's a lot of drops to keep track of.
Mini LaDon.
And many of you out there, you don't know this, but when I try to do a sound drop on the show, there's a lot of levers and dials involved. It's not as simple as pushing a button that has a label on it.
The best part of this
you turn the crank and
is that Andy Holloway is one of the most organized people I know in my entire life, and he refuses to organize the soundboard in a way that is manageable.
You're dead on with that one.
It doesn't make sense.
It really doesn't. And you all get the benefit. Full stream ahead this week. I'm going with Jimmy G.
Oh,
Jimmy G takes on the Rams.
That's a handsome stream.
Yeah, it's a handsome stream, all right. Jimmy GQ against Los Angeles. He's just been good, and I think it'll continue against Los Angeles this week. He's going on the road, but if you need somebody, it's slim pickings down below that 50% ownership line at the quarterback position. I'll go with Jimmy G.
Yeah, I'm going to go with last week's pump the brakes on Tyrod Taylor, which came through, no touchdowns, but he's going
281 yards this past week.
Yeah, which is a lot for Tyrod.
And playing for a playoff berth.
Yeah, he's got, something to play for, and going to Miami, I think he's going to be fine because of the rushing yardage.
And I'm just taking the easy one here because
you got to stay with this. I mean,
you have to stay in the flames that is Blake Bortles.
There's no way I'm playing Tyrod Taylor or even Jimmy G, who I love, over Bortles.
Bortles is the ultimate stream this week.
He gets to play the Tennessee Titans,
who just gave up 4 touchdowns to Jared Goff.
Yeah, so Blake Bortles is the play, and just in case your waiver wire is very shallow, Joe Flacco is at home against the Bengals. They are playing for the playoffs, and Joe Flacco has been a very usable fantasy quarterback. And Jacoby, where's the beef? Brissett is at home against the Texans, so they are a solid consolation prizes, I think.
Agreed.
Week 17 with Jacoby Brissett at quarterback. That is a fantasy football nightmare.
That's what you get for playing Week 17.
That is absolutely accurate and true.
Yeah, there you go. That is it for today's episode. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll talk about some playoff scenarios, and we'll get into the mailbag and do a bunch of other stuff on tomorrow's show, including Pump the Brakes. And, look, congratulations to those of you that won, to those of you that had a great season and fought through a lot of adversity. As always, check out draft.com/ballers to hang out.
Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Join our fantasy football community on jointhefoot.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.